Hello, good morning. Hope everyone is awake and without hangover from last night. My name is Aviran. I'm the VP Engineering for Wix.com. I'm going to talk with you today about how Wix is, as a growth company, evolved in the culture and the organizational structure that support that scale. But to start, a little bit about Wix, probably some things that you know or didn't know. So Wix is a website builder, but it's much more than just a website builder. It's also a full development platform that if you think about the website builder as an IDE, now you can write code and you can have servers and databases and a lot of verticals, APIs with ecom platform and booking and restaurants. So you can use all the APIs to build your own web applications on top of it. A little bit numbers. Wix has over 210 million website builders around the world. About 7% of the internet websites are running on Wix, so even if you don't know Wix, you probably encounter a website that is built on top of it. Like, we handle about 1 billion users every month visiting our platform. We run at scale at about 20 data centers, points of presence around the world. And there are about 6,000 people working in Wix. About half of them are in the R&D. Yes, we have an office here in Krakow, a new one in Amsterdam, and all over the world. So, as you see, it's a fairly large company, but it wasn't always like this. So the story is how we managed to grow our company very rapidly from 100 to 1,000. So right now we're at like 6,000 people in about 5 years and continue on. So I'm going to tell you this story. A little bit about me. Yes, I'm a pop doll officially. So I'm Aviran. I'm a father of 3 and a husband. I have a cat, a dog, and that was my first computer with a whooping 64K, the Dragon. Actually, if you know, when you get this computer, you have a 32K because that was enough, and you have to run a special command to get the 64 because who needs 64K of memory, right? I work in many companies, from startups to large enterprises like Lockheed Martin. Did the United States National Archive systems and search engines for various companies until I ended up at Wix, where my home for the past 12 years. So enough about me. Let's go back in time. So when I joined the company, we were a small company, and we had basically 2 teams, 2 functional teams. We got the front-end team and the back-end team that basically they did everything. We had about 3 products, and all the developers were spread around all the products. Now, at some point, we realized that this creates a problem. Because when we had new shiny products, everybody went to work on the new products, but the old systems kind of got neglected because we were shifting resources from one product to another. And we really care about the customers, and we didn't want, you know, the old, not so shiny products to suffer because they had roadmaps, they had user requests. And we tried to figure out what to do, how to better manage our resources. So we look at the industry and we saw 2 common patterns of of company structures. Okay, we got the functional model, which we were at that time working with, and we got the business unit model. And they both have advantages and disadvantages. So in the functional model, like I said, there is a lack of ownership on a specific product because you kind of shift around between them. There is no really deep dive expertise, again, because of the constant movement between requirements and priorities. In the business unit model, you get the expertise, but then you get a duplication of work because every unit is independent, they're doing their own thing. Sharing knowledge is hard, and essentially, we create silos. So we look at those both models and say, well, there is really no perfect model. So what we were trying to do is to create a fusion between those two. How we can have best of both worlds. And what we did is came up with this. So we had the functional teams, and we decided to create something that we called gangs and guilds. So this model, I'm talking about the year like 2013, 2012, 2013, something like that. What we did with this is we flipped the model and basically created the guild. So it's not like when I say the guild, the first thing that pumps into your head probably the Spotify guild structure. So it's not the Spotify model. It is similar. It actually got developed the same time as Spotify's. We didn't have a name for this. About 6 months after we started doing this, the Spotify paper came out, and they called it a guild and said, yeah, kind of similar. So we're going to call this thing also a guild. So a guild is a group of people that expertise and knowledge and tools, and they share a lot of their practices. And on top of the guilds, which were basically the same team that we have, the back-end team, the front-end team, we created what we called a gang. So we created independent teams that actually worked on specific product. So we have the guilds, and we have the gang that is actually responsible for kind of a single system. So a gang has a team lead and the developers and product managers, and every person is basically have two alignment. One is for the gang that you're working on the what. What are you going to do? What is your feature? What is your product? And the guild that shows you how to do things. So every product was developed at the same methodologies with the same infrastructure. So these are the functions inside of a gang. You got the team lead, you got the team members, that each team member belongs to a guild. And you got the guild. So the guild has a guild lead, which manages all the guilds and all the developers inside the guild. The guild also have something that we call the guild master. You can think of a guild master as kind of an architect. He's like the expert in the guild methodologies, the tools, and supports every guild member across all the gangs. Another very important thing that we did is we put the infrastructure teams inside the guild in order to not repeat infrastructures across different gangs and not have duplicate work, and every gang will have their own infra. We put the infra in the guild. I'm sorry. This is a very important part of this structure, because basically, if you think about it, the guilds are pushing the engineering culture across the companies. And it's not enough just to say, hey, do this and that. You also have the supporting tools that actually create this culture. At that point, we were doing continuous delivery, so all the infrastructure for doing deployment, release, A/B testing, it was done in the guild, and thus we push this continuous delivery CI/CD methodology throughout the company. And if you wanted to deploy to production, for instance, you have to use the system. So no, the gangs themselves, they didn't have to manage all those and just focused on the product. So we call this the operational guilds. And it's not just about tools and methodologies. The Wix's operational guild model also have a lot of investment in the day-to-day life of the people in the company. So for instance, recruitment. Recruitment was done in the guild. So it's not like every team is responsible for their own recruitment, which create different standards. You're actually being recruited to the guild first. You pass the bar in a professional way, and then we can be assigned to the product team, the gang. We're setting the professional standards, the training for everyone on the infrastructures, on the tooling. On compensation, okay, with this model, two people have to agree on a compensation. One, I'll go back. One is the gang leader, and one is the guild manager. So we create first equality across all the gangs. In terms of compensation and in terms of leveling. And also, we prevent the competition, so one team cannot overpay just to recruit more people to their team. One thing is that is very important in the guild's mission is the KPIs. I often ask, okay, what is the goal? What is the KPI of a guild? And at Wix, the most important thing, the success of a guild is not its own success. Okay? It's the success of the companies. It's the success of the gangs. So if the product teams are able to deliver high quality software in a high velocity, this means the guild succeeded in its mission. It doesn't have its own KPIs. So we started with this, and we saw that it actually works, and it kind of spread across the company. And the company continued to grow. And across the years, we developed a lot more products. Now, when we have the gangs, let's say the Wix's, as a whole company roadmap, was controlled from a central place, from management. And they decided, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But as we scaled, we couldn't have a central place that actually holds everything. And this is an example of the things that Wix developed across the years. And you see there's a lot of products, a huge platform like econ platform, like new editors, ADI, which is artificial design intelligence, partners and restaurants, and many development platforms, many products. And when you have so many products, eventually you cannot control the roadmap of an entire company from a central place. So we reached to a point that this model just didn't scale. So we went back to the drawing board and started to think, okay, what can we do? We have all those teams, we have the guilds. It was working fairly well, but now we need to do something else. And while we were thinking about it, and we say, okay, what organizations are moving the fastest? And the fastest organizations in developing products are basically startups. So we decided to do exactly that. So we decided to create like mini startups inside our whole organizations, and we call them companies. So we took basically a big domain, and we put a bunch of gangs in the domain. Like the e-commerce domain, this is basically a startup company. So we had, for a startup company, you have the CEO. Okay, so we call the CEO the head of a company that is responsible for the roadmap for developing this domain. You got the VP R&D, the CTO. These are not official titles that we have at Wix. You can choose your own title, but it's the head of engineering for each company. And you got the product manager. So basically, there are independent startup companies that get all the resources that they need in order to progress fast in their own domain, independently of the other. But if you notice this structure, there's a big problem, because as much as we avoided in creating silos in the previous model, we are creating silos here. And the silos are product silos. It's not the culture engineering silos, because we have the guilds that compensate that, but the product silos. So in order to not create the product silos, we were thinking, well, what does a startup company have that we can leverage? And a company basically have a board of directors, right? That they influence the company's roadmap. So we did exactly that. So we assigned basically a board of directors. So who are the board of directors? These are the corporate management team. So for each company, what we did is we assigned a chairman from the management team, and together the company head and the chairman are aligned on the product roadmap. Another great value that this model brings us is to shorten the time for a decision. If we needed to make a decision, not everything has to come to management. So what we did is we set a ground rule that for 99% of the times, a chairman and a company head can make any decisions they want, because the chairman knows the roadmap of the entire company. The head of company knows what they need to succeed on their own, and together they can make any decisions without over bureaucracy and bring everything to management. And now with this scale, also the guilds need to evolve and change a little bit to support this new structure. So now, instead of the gangs, the guilds need to align between the companies. They support the companies in recruiting. Now they need to enhance the infrastructure and think really, really hard and keep improving the development velocity of each company, because now you have big domains for each company, and we needed to find the new common denominators between them to run on the same platform. Another thing that the guild was doing is to give a hand and temporary help for companies to achieve their roadmap. if a company is stuck, if you have dependency, if you're short on manpower, the Git would come in temporarily with manpower and help the company move forward and achieve their goals and roadmaps. So let's see how some of the things that help us achieve this thing. First of all, in order to scale a company, we need to think about the architecture of our systems. And here comes the famous Conway's law, which, if you don't know, basically says that your organizational structure reflects your the system's architecture. So in order to scale our organization, we needed to change the way that we architect our systems. And for that, and this is one of the major reasons to have that, is moving to a microservices architecture. Monoliths are fine, but in order to scale, you need to put some barriers and move to a microservices architectures. So by moving to this architecture, we also change our physical settings and put people in small rooms. So basically, a room fits a team. And we can sit in a big open space, so we have a team, and the communication in that team, they own a single domain or two or three microservices. Communication within the team is relevant always and fast. Another guideline that we put in place is, while companies and gangs have almost complete independence, or as much independence as we can give them, we do think about how to minimize the architectural dependencies inside those companies and cross multiple companies. And one of the things that people speak about when we talk about microservices architectures is, hey, I can build a microservice in any language and any stack that I want, right? I can be a polyglottic system because that fits me and because I like it, because the people that I hired are expert in this technology, and now they have a learning curve in a different technology. And this is a big mistake. Okay? If you want to move fast and you want to share knowledge and create a single culture inside a company, you need to shrink your stack. You need to limit the stack. Okay? Because once you do that, you can reuse code. You can implement cross-cutting concerns once or twice. Okay? Think about if you have identity tokens, okay, and you have encryption keys. If you have multiple stacks and requests are coming across all those stacks, you have to implement that 3, 4, 5, 6 times. Okay, and now something changed. Everybody gets stacked until all the different technologies implement this new chain, this new change, this new encryption. So once you limit your stacks, you can implement it once. It's so cheaper. And also, it helps you move people from one company to another company without them having to learn new technologies and new stacks. All they need to learn is a new domain. Okay? This really, really helped us. This single decision to limit the stack really, really helped us progress fast. Right now, we have about 3,000 unique microservices clusters. People are moving, deploying very, very fast, like 600 times a day, just because we can move really, really fast. Culture. Okay, so we talked about the stacks, and now we also needed to change the culture and give a lot of responsibility and ownership to the gangs, to the companies, because we want them to be as independent as possible. Now, if you think about it, what is the common denominator between those roles? Okay, the product manager, project, QA, operations, DBA. There is a common denominator between all of them. And the common thing is developers can do all those things. If you think about the startup, a two-people startup, they're just starting up, okay? At least one of them is a developer that does all those things, because you don't have the resources, you don't have the dedicated DBA, you don't have QA. Maybe you got the other person is the business person, but now the first developer or the two developers, they need to do all those things. So we created this culture, we call it a developer-centric, okay? Where we highly believe that a developer needs to be involved in every single aspect of the life cycle of a product. If you think of a product life cycle as a pipeline or a release train, the developer is involved in creating the product. The developer is involved in testing. The developer needs to be involved in every aspect of the operations. Because if you think about a production line where you have a product definition and it moves and eventually it comes to the customer, being a SaaS company, you just don't just ship a car and let it go. You actually need to operate that car. So it's not a production line, it's actually a circuit. It circles back to the developer who actually developed this product. So they know their system best. They know it better than the product that defined it. They know it better than the QA that tested it. They know it better than anyone because they wrote the system. So they need to be involved in any aspect of the life cycle. Now, when you have a production system that changes very, very fast, you need to think about quality and what you need to do in order to support these fast-moving systems. And one of the things is the TDD. TDD is a key for us to be able to run very fast. So we really ingrained this methodology inside the company. For instance, we removed all the QAs from the backend engineering. So backend code have 0 QAs. So it basically forces you to write your own test. The only places that we do use QA is where we have front-end or UIs or lack of tooling. And actually, if we're lacking of tooling, we will try also to create them. For instance, we also have like mobile applications, and we work with React Native, for instance. And we didn't have, and there is no good testing framework for React Native. So one of the missions of the company that developed this React Native application was also to develop a testing framework. It's open source, it's called Detox, if you care about native applications, which actually a testing framework that can be run automatically. So we try to move fast and create all the tools that are needed for that. Now, quality is very important for a company to scale, and there are reasons for that. Okay, quality basically means you have better engineers. Okay, if you have better engineers, it means that you can have a professional growth, and once you grow, you need to invest and train people. And how do you do that at scale? Again, enters the guilds. Here's another responsibility of the guilds, and this is some of the activities that we're doing in the guilds. I'm going to show you now. So we have what we called a guild day. Basically, at Wix, we have 20% of the time is dedicated to education and professional growth of our people. So you work 4 days a week. Thursday is a guild day. It's not really the whole day. It's a few hours, which is not 20%. We do use the 20%. In the next slide, I'll show you how. But every week, we gather the people for training sessions, for talks, for lectures, for workshops. And this 20% is something that is signed on and agreed with management. Okay, this time is something that you cannot not do. Okay, it's something that management puts, like you say, put your money where your mouth is. So this is the money. 20% of the time is devoted to have better people, better engineer, and invest on the growth of the people. So the goal of the guild days, we have different goals. Is one, we created the silos. So the guild days that everybody is coming to a whole. So we create a lot of relationships between teams that don't really work together on the day-to-day. They share knowledge between companies. We do lectures, workshops. We promote innovations. And the professional and personal development, because if you standing on a stage like this and you give a talk or workshop to your peers, it also makes you learn and be better. So this is a typical guild day. We have general updates. We got project spotlights where different companies, they share about the projects that they're doing, tech talks, workshops, and any activities that you want. So these are like I said, it's about 2-3 hours a week. It's not the 20% time. And the rest of the time, we have something that we call the Guild Week. So every quarter, a person physically leaves, regarding the COVID, which is everybody is at home, but physically leave their team and go join another team to do another task. We try to do this in pairs and think also about pairing people. If you want a junior, pair it with a senior. If you want someone that want to learn how to be a better TDD, then we pair them with someone, with a TDD expert, for instance. We take one person from, let's say, from the payment company and put them inside the blog company. So they learn a new domain, they learn new skills. They see how other teams work. Now, the number one goal of a Guild Week is not actually to finish their tasks. Okay? It's to improve the quality of their work, to improve their skills. Other culture-related things is transparency. There was, as you can see, we also built our offices with only windows to reflect the transparency, and invest a lot in communications. Like every form of communication that is possible, we push people to use. Just communicate. There was one VC in the States that worked with many companies, and he once told me, I have never seen a company that invests so much in pushing information and communicating and transparency. And this can be with newsletters, videos, company updates, Slack messages, every form of communication that you can do. Sometimes it's overwhelming, but we highly believe that it's better for people to know than not know. So growing new teams, we're a company at growth. It's all about who you hire. Okay? This is a very old picture from, I guess, I don't know, 9 years ago. About, I don't know, 40% of those people, maybe a little less, still work at Wix. Hiring is the key. Okay, this is like a real photo of someone that really wanted to join the company. So he started to drawing on the pavement, on the parking lot, that he really wants to work at Wix. You need to hire the people that fit your culture. Candidates can be dropped by anyone. When you do the hiring process, have many people from different companies, from different areas of the company to interview, just to get over the bias or the urgency of a recruiting team to recruit a person. They said, I really need this person urgently, so I'm willing to lower the bar. By involving people from unrelated areas of your company, you actually have no choice but to have those bar raisers, and you can't really hire people just because it's urgent for you. And once you have the people, you need to create new teams. So we seed the teams with ambassadors. We really try not to create new teams with everybody that is new, but to take someone. It doesn't have to be a manager. It can be someone that is in the company for a couple of years, that already assimilated to the culture, already knows the people, can connect, and build the team around them. Now we can bring even the team lead, and this person can teach the team lead about the culture. Speaking about a team lead, this is something that, in my personal opinion, especially when you're small enough, you should try to avoid hiring new team leads directly into a team lead position. Okay, because people are coming from a different company, from different culture. They know that culture, and they bring that into your own company. And if you don't have the counterforce to have them be assimilated to the culture that you want, eventually they will create the culture that they already know. Okay? So I highly believe that in promoting people from within to team leads. Sometimes you have no choice. So if you have no choice but to bring a team lead from outside, try to give them relatively long onboarding, so they can understand your company culture, hopefully in a different team that already is working well. So we take a new team lead, we do 3 months, sometimes even 6 months onboarding in different teams, in different companies, until they actually start to work as a team lead. So if we're talking about the elements of a healthy growth, we saw the transparency. Transparency leads to quality because you cannot hide. Once you have a quality of people, of product, then you gain the trust of the organization, the trust and collaborations. Once you gain the trust, you can gain independence. Once you gain independence, you can continue grow, and it's a cycle that keeps on growing healthy, promote healthy growth. So to conclude, okay, we don't leave the quality and velocity to chance. We created an organization that try to balance the strive to move with new products very, very fast, but also to have the counterpart that promotes quality, promote good engineering, and promote healthy growth in the company. And by that, I will leave you with this quote. This is why we need to invest in people and don't leave it to chance. So, thank you very much. That was. If you want to download the slides, you can just. This is the URL. If you want to download the slides. And now we move to the questions. Wait. Yes, I know. Click here. Are you allowed to drink alcohol at work? Spotted the slide on the. Yes, you're not allowed, you're required. At what level do you share code? Do you have shared libraries between teams? We share infrastructure. We have a kind of process that we write a common infrastructure that takes care of the common concerns. Like if you think about it, like every aspect, we call it the weak stacks. Like every product needs to handle GDPR and PII and encryption and manage tokens and cookies and talks with the gateway. So this is the shared infrastructure that everybody is using. And the new technologies that people use are a lot of the times they start in the companies. So for instance, like I told you, we limit the stack. But let's take, for example, we're working with MySQL, and another company thinks that MySQL is not the right tool, and they actually prove that it's not the right tool, and they want to use, let's say, Cassandra or MongoDB. So they take full ownership of that stack, that technology. They basically maintain their own unique little infrastructure. They shared everything that they can, but they maintain their own infrastructure. Now, when another company needs to use that technology, they do share resources or libraries from the original company. Once we have about 2 or 3 companies that use a new technology, then we take that, make it a standard infrastructure and take that into the infrastructure teams. So they can share libraries. Just how many builds do you have? How many? Oh, guilds, not builds. Yes, so we started this model with the engineering. So the first guild was the backend guild, then we started with the front-end guild, but it spread around to the entire company. So we got QA guild, you got product guild, security, HR is a guild, legal is a guild. So the definition of, most of the companies now have guilds. But the definition of a guild, there are 2 types. We have the guilds, which those are people that are spread around across different teams, and they don't have a centralized management group. So if you have this kind of people which share a profession, so they have a guild. We do have central teams that are not called a guild, although they're quite large. Like, for instance, the system or DevOps. I really hate DevOps. It's not a job description. So this is a group because there are a centralized team under one management. So they are not a guild, but security, which is spread around. There you have a security person in multiple companies, so there are guilds. So yeah, so it's spread. This model works, so it's spread around the entire company. mostly, even the cleaning people have guilds. Do gang have product assigned or project? If project, who is responsible for future maintenance? Who is responsible for? So once you started a project or a product, you maintain it till the end of time or until another team takes that from you. Again, we try not to have orphan projects. So if you started a project, you are the owner of this project and you maintain it. Even if you move to a new project, you still need to maintain whatever you have. This is how we avoid having like the problem that we started this structure in the beginning, that you shift resources and you neglect your old projects because you have customers and you cannot neglect your customers. So you have a project and you maintain it. How cross-company initiatives are synced? Well, yeah, it's very interesting, and this is a very tough problem. So, like I said, we have the chairman, so they know the company overall roadmap. We have every quarter, we have a quarterly roadmap where all the companies, they sync and they show and they present their roadmap. Part of the preparation for this quarterly roadmap is we have a sync week where every company that has a dependency on a different company, they go and speak with them and they sync their roadmaps and priorities. So when they come to the roadmap week, they are synced and they got commitment from all their dependencies. If they cannot get commitment, that get escalated to management, and then we try to mitigate and do the commitments, or just cancel or postpone the projects because you don't have the commitments from other companies. How about guild members, corporations, integration during remote COVID times? Actually, this is an interesting topic because, like I showed you in the beginning, Wix is spread across the world. So before COVID, we had local guild days and local guilds in every region. So in Kiev, for instance, they have their own thing. In Lithuania, they have their own thing. In Tel Aviv, we had our own thing. What COVID did is actually brought everyone together, because for the first time, we actually could bring everybody to the same Zoom screen and they have what we call the global guild day and collaboration. Also, Slack channels and communication between the guilds. So all the guild members, we have one guild Slack channel that everybody just asks questions, and regardless wherever you are, people will answer you. What is the next challenge? 1,000 to 6,000, also a big jump. Great question. So yes, so we are, I showed you what we have right now, and this is actually true because we are feeling the pain of the next jump in scale. We are in the process of something that, a project that we called Guild at Scale, that we are trying to understand, okay, what is our next structural shift or methodology shift. Not really ready to share that yet, because it's just starting next week. We have some experiments. I promise that in a quarter or two, if that works, I will stand on this stage or another stage and tell you what is the next phase that the guilds are doing to scale up. And that's it, I think, yes. So thank you very much. I'm here at the conference if you want to continue and discuss this thing.